Hello there. Welcome to CXC Math TV. Today we will be looking at salaries and wages in consumer arithmetic. So all of that lovely stuff in terms of how much pay somebody would get. Yes, man, that's what we'll be doing today. All right. So topics related to salaries and wages on the CSEC math syllabus. Of course, salaries and wages. You're going to see some questions that involve rates and taxes, utilities and commissions. So even though we say salaries and wages, these are all the topics that you'll expect to see in some questions. So of course, there's a bunch of formulas that you're going to have to need to know. But wait a second. Before we start with those formulas, you have to first know what a salary is. So salary is just the fixed amount of money that bosses pay to their employees for the services that they're providing to a particular business or a company. This is usually paid monthly, for example, a teacher, and this is what we call the gross monthly salary. All right, so when you get paid monthly, that's gross monthly salary. Now, that's usually before the tax come out. So it's really the net monthly salary you need to focus on. The net monthly salary, this is the true amount that someone is paid after they take out the taxes. So of course, here are now the formulas that, as I said before, we must know them. Gross annual salary. So gross annual salary, that's just how much you're paid per month multiplied by 12. Gross monthly salary is also gross annual salary. Gross annual salary is how much you're paid per month multiplied by 12. That just gives you how much you're paid for the year, hence the term annual. Now that same formula, you can transpose it. You can transpose it because so far we have annual salary is the gross salary times 12. You can make the gross salary the subject by dividing by 12. And so when we do that, you realize the next formula that you get then is that the gross monthly salary is the annual salary divided by 12. So here we go. And then net monthly salary is how much you're paid per month minus the monthly deduction. And net annual salary is the net monthly salary times 12. It sounds like a lot, so let's utilize some of these in a question. So a question might say, the gross monthly salary of a manager is $5,875. Her net annual salary after deduction of $960 were made monthly. So we need to calculate that her net annual salary after deductions of $976. So first thing they gave us was her gross monthly salary. So what we can do then is say, okay, the monthly salary minus monthly deduction, that's going to give us her net monthly salary. So let's do that. So of course her monthly salary, 5,875, and then we subtract the monthly deduction of 976. So we do our subtraction, 5,875 minus 976, that gives us 4,899, and that 4,899, as we said, that is now her net monthly salary. So that's how much you get paid really and truly. That's how much money she actually get. So now to find her net annual salary, we just tell them that the net annual salary is equal to the net monthly salary times 12. And so we multiply the net monthly salary that we just worked out, 4,899 times 12. So when you multiply that by 12, you're going to get 58,600 $26,788. That's how much she paid per month. That's her net annual salary. For the year, sorry. I said per month, so scratch that. For the year. So in a year, the boss is paid $58,788. Nice. All right. Now that was just one example illustrating the formulas that we listed below. But those are not the main formulas that you'll utilize. This right here displayed on the screen is the main formula that we'll be utilizing. So of course, when we go to work, some places pay you per hour. So maybe they tell you that for every hour you're earning $2,500. Or maybe they say every hour you're earning TT $100. Or maybe they say every hour you're earning 15 US dollars. That's what we call the basic rate. Now, many companies, when they hire you, you're going to be working 5 days at 8 hours per day. Now, this is what we call now your basic week. All right, the amount of hours that you total have to work for the week, that's your basic week. Then the amount of money that you earn for that week, we call that your basic wage. Now, some companies, they don't have a basic week. Some companies have a basic fortnight. That's when you get paid every 2 weeks. So a lot of companies do this. They get paid every 2 weeks. So the amount of money that you earn during a basic fortnight is still just called your basic wage. All right? It's still your basic wage. So what's the formula that we have to know? We must know this. Now I'm going to circle the one that you must know. It's really just the first one. The others are just transposition of that first formula. You need to know that the basic wage is equal to the basic rate times the basic week. Let me say it one more time. Basic wage equal basic rate times basic week. Let's see it in an example. A girl works a basic week of 40 hours and her basic rate is $6.25 per hour. Calculate her basic wage for the week. No problem. So all we have to do is start by saying the basic wage is equal to the basic rate times the basic week. Alright? Now, as they told us, the rate that she's being paid is $6.25 per hour. That's her rate. And her basic week is the amount of hours that she worked in total for the week. So multiply it by 40. So the basic wage that she'd make is $6.25 times 40. And so this girl earns a whopping $250 for the week. That's her basic wage. So that would be her basic wage for the week, $250. All right, depending on the currency, it may be good or bad, we don't know. All right, now here's another question of how they can give you it. As I said, you're going to have to get used to transposing the formula. So it says Roger works a basic week of 32 hours and earned Jamaican 26,700 and scratch that. He earned $26,786. Find the basic rate of pay. So need to work out his basic pay. As I said, you only need to know the one formula and then transpose it. So we know that basic wage is equal to basic rate. I'm just going to put rate here times basic week. All right. Now we are trying to find the basic rate, right? This is what we're trying to find, the basic rate. Since we're trying to find the basic rate, we're going to transpose the formula. So divide both sides by the basic week. Dividing both sides by the basic week, we end up getting that the basic rate is equal to the basic week, the basic wage divided by the basic week. Now, what was his wage for the week? They told us it was $26,786, and we divide it by the basic week of 32. So when we do that division, 26,786 divided by 32, we get $837.06. Now, remember that with money, you always, so that's the rate at which he's being paid. So Roger is being paid. So we can say Roger is paid $837.06 per hour. That's his basic rate. That's not bad. $837.06. That's not bad, right? Well, it depends. Alright? So that's Roger's rate that is being paid per hour. Now, in reality, many times, I know a lot is on the screen. So scratch everything on the screen, right? A lot of times, this is what really makes persons make money: overtime. All right? So after you work your full shift, right? Then you're going to have to work overtime to make that extra cash. As some would say, that extra bread. All right? And so to make that extra cash, usually the overtime rate is a little more valued than the regular time that you're being paid. And so overtime rate is higher than your regular pay rate. So here are some formulas now that you must know for overtime. When we're talking about overtime, if you hear the phrase time and a quarter, it means 1.25 times your basic rate. If you hear the term time and a half, it means 1.5 times your basic rate. If you hear double time, it means that you're paid double your basic rate, which is 2 times the basic rate. And triple time, it means you're being paid 3 times the basic rate. Of course, there are others, but these are just the main ones that you'll see. All right? Hey! Now, here's the formula for calculating overtime wage and gross wage. Now, overtime wage is your overtime rate times the number of overtime hours worked. Let me say that again. It's your overtime rate multiplied by the overtime hours worked. And then you need to remember that gross wage now, this is now adding your basic wage and your overtime wage. Now, when we see it in some questions, it will all make sense. I'm going to slow down going through some questions, and that will help you to feel a lot better. Trust me. So here's a question. Romario works a 35-hour week for which he is paid $763. He works 6 hours overtime on Saturday, which is paid at time and a half, and 4 hours overtime on Sunday, which is paid at double rate. Calculate his gross wage for the week. Okay, no problem. So the first time, as we realize, is they start by giving us Romario's basic wage, right? So they gave us Romario's basic wage, and they gave us his basic week. So they didn't give us his basic rate. No problem. But we know that basic wage, so yes, you have to remember the formulas from what we did previously. So remember, the basic wage is equal to the basic rate multiplied by the basic week, or some people like to say number of hours worked. All right? So how many hours worked for the week? All right? So in that case, now we can find his rate by transposing the formula to say that his basic rate is now the basic wage divided by the basic week. So in that case, now we do our division. The basic wage is $763, and we divide it by how many hours that he worked for that particular week, which is 35. So we do the division, 763 divided by 35, and we get rate being 21, a whopping 21.80. Wow! So look at that. Romario is being paid $21.80. Remember, this is US currency. Man, I wonder what kind of job Romari is doing because $21 is good rate. We know that. Now, here's what they say now. They say he worked 6 hours overtime on Saturday and it is being paid at time and a half. So that's just the first part of the calculation, right? No need to work out his overtime wage. Now remember, overtime wage is equal to the overtime rate. So O rate mean overtime rate multiplied by the number of overtime hours worked. So multiplied by overtime hours. This is why you have to remember the formulas from previously just to skate back. Here it is. Overtime wage is overtime rate times overtime hours. Please remember this formula. So going back now, all right. So the overtime rate, it says on Saturday. So notice, him get two set of overtime. Him have overtime for Saturday and Sunday. It told us that on Saturday, he's being paid at time and a half, right? So since on Saturday he's being paid at time and a half, and he works 6 hours overtime on Saturday, it's the overtime rate of times and a half times the basic rate. The basic rate is 2180 multiplied by how many hours he worked. Number of overtime hours worked 6. But him overtime wage not done yet. You put a bracket around it and put plus because he also worked some additional overtime hours on Sunday. On Sunday, he worked 4 hours overtime being paid double rate. So since he's being paid double rate, we put 2 times his basic rate multiplied by, of course, the number of overtime hours for Sunday, which is 4. So now we can work out his full overtime wage. So it's 1.5 times 21.80 multiplied by 6. When you work out the Saturday overtime wage, you will be getting $196.20. When you work out his Sunday overtime wage 2 times 21.80 times 4, you're going to get 174.40. So all we have to do is add those two, 196.20 plus 174.40. We add them and we'll get $370.60. So remember, that's just his overtime wage. So finally, to answer their question and give them the gross wage, you have to then tell them now gross wage, it's equal to your basic wage plus your overtime wage. So basic plus overtime. I'm just trying to shorten it. So we ran out of space. My apologies. So I'll bring it over here. So his gross wage then is just the basic rate. And the basic wage we said was $763.00 plus, of course, is $370.60. So we're just going to add them and see how much Romario earns for that particular week. So adding them, Romario ensured that he earned 763 plus 370.60. Romario actually earned $1,133.60 in USD. Alright? So that's how much Romario earned for that particular week. So I know you're saying, man, it's so much stuff I have to remember. Yes, that's how many stuff you have to remember as it relates to salaries and wages. So let's look at another question, because as I said, these questions can come 100 different ways. This question says, in an engineering firm, all employees work a basic week of 40 hours. Notice it gave you what? Basic week, so how many hours worked. Any overtime worked from Monday to Friday is paid at time and a half, while on Sunday it is paid for at double rate. The basic rate is $14.80 per hour. Find the gross wage of a man who worked 12 hours overtime Monday to Friday, 2 hours overtime on Saturday, and 5 hours overtime on Sunday. Cool. So they gave us so much information, but we have no issue at all. All right. So the first thing that we realized that they gave us was the basic. They gave us the basic week, which is the amount of hours he worked during his regular shift. And they gave us the basic rate down by the bottom. See, I'm underlining them: basic week and basic rate. From that, you can find the basic what? The basic wage. Yes, I hope you said it. So the basic wage then would be the 1480, and then you multiply it by 40 hours. So when you work that out, you have 14.80 multiplied by 40, we get $592. Now we're just going to stick a pin right there, because once you get the basic wage, we're eventually trying to find is full pay that he gets for the week, which is his gross pay or gross wage. Now the gross wage we know is the basic wage plus the overtime wage. So now we need to work out his overtime wage. So just draw a line there because we're sticking a pin right there. So now for the overtime wage. Again, remember the overtime wage is equal to overtime rate multiplied by the number of overtime hours worked. So the number of hours that you work. Now the overtime rate they told us is different. Monday to Friday is paid at time and a half. Let me underline it in the color blue. You're being paid at time and a half for overtime Monday to Friday. So the rate for Friday is time and a half multiplied by, remember, overtime rate. Time and a half means 1.5 times the basic rate, and the basic rate was 1480. However, we need to multiply it now by the amount of hours worked on Friday. The number of overtime hours worked on Friday. Let's scoot down. So we scoot down, and they told us that the man worked 12 hours overtime on Monday to Friday. So multiply it by 12. Plus now, remember he worked some more overtime. He worked some overtime Saturday. Let's underline Saturday in a different color. Let's use burgundy. Saturday he worked 2 hours overtime, and they tell us that on Saturday, how much is he being paid? Alright, so any overtime work Monday to Friday is paid at time and a half, while Sunday it is paid for at double rate. Alright, now I do not see his rate that he's being paid at for Saturday, right? So let us assume that he's being paid at double rate Saturday as well, all right? So that would have been my bad. It should have been while on Saturday and Sunday, he's being paid at double rate. So I'll add it to the question. While on Saturday and Sunday, is being paid at double rate. So that was missing from the question. My bad right there. Now, overtime for double rate is 2 times the basic rate of 1480 multiplied by the amount of overtime hours worked on Saturday is 2 plus, now 2 times 14.80 multiplied by the number of overtime paid on Sunday, which is 5. Now, if you went ahead and just add 2 and 5 and get 7, and you worked out 2 times 14.8 times 7, that would also be correct. All right, that's just utilizing distributive property. But we're not getting into that. I like when you show the full working and separate the overtime for Monday to Friday, overtime for Saturday, overtime for Sunday. I like to separate everything. So now we're going to do our multiplication. 1.5 times 14.8 times 12, that is 266.40 plus 2 times 14.80 times 2, that is $59.20 plus 2 times 14.8 times 5, that is $148. Once you get all of that, you add them up to get your overtime wage. So 266.4 plus 59.2 plus 148 you get $473.60. Wow. Now that you get his full overtime wage, you're able to calculate his gross wage. Because now you're able to tell them the gross wage, remember gross wage is the basic wage plus the overtime wage. So we're going to add them now, the basic wage, which is $592 plus 473.60. Not enough space, so we'll put it here. So the gross wage ended up being equal to, add those two, and we get $1,065.60. That's his gross wage. Nice.